Sherine Salama joins me in the studio today. Sherine, thank you very much for joining us. You are the maker of the film of the last days of Yasser Arafat. He is such a huge figure. I mean, not just in the story of the Palestinian cause, the story of the Middle East, but just globally. And yet, his last days was as someone who was besieged, hunted down, all of those things. And that's what's remarkable about it, how it ended this life.
Yeah, well, that's what captured my imagination. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to make the film. It's the fact that there's this, world leader, leader of a nation for over 40 years, and his plight in those last days, I mean, the drama of his plight, and obviously the way the compound was destroyed around him and the fact that he was basically held captive in his headquarters was a great metaphor for really the situation. I think, look, everybody in Ramallah, it seemed at one stage, was trying to help me.
Yeah.
Everybody, and, obviously I felt that because I had Palestinian lineage, that would work to my advantage, and, so I assumed that, if I stuck it out long enough, and I'm very determined, as you can see in the film, that I would get it, in the end, because I was determined. And in fact, I think that's one of the main reasons I did finally get that interview.
Persistence.
I was in their face every single day. I went to the compound every day.
You have reported from Palestine, and Israel has always made the assertions that, of the well-oiled, highly effective Palestinian sort of spin machine that's got its sort of tentacles and manipulating West. I always sort of used to laugh because it just doesn't work like that. It really is ad hoc, isn't it? Because of the nature of the leadership, and especially when it's on the run like that, being forced to be.
That's right. It's survival, really. I mean, their infrastructure was destroyed around them, and so they were just struggling to cope. In fact, that's why I get so frustrated while I'm waiting there, trying to get some sort of definitive answer about whether I'm going to get an interview or not. And I'm told constantly, maybe inshallah tomorrow, or inshallah, and there didn't seem to be any strategy, and it was so frustrating.
I know, but why do you think people like Ali, who is a real key character in this, Nabila Burudaine's assistant, why do you think they were doing what they were doing? Not only in trying to help you, but to try and keep this link with the outside world in these last sort of days of Arafat?
I think it's desperation, I think, they were trying to keep a cover on what really was happening. I think they felt real despair. They knew they had no control over the situation, the wider situation. Everything was crumbling around them, and they were trying to keep a brave face, actually, to their own people.
Did it feel like a fiasco to you, or that it could have happened anywhere, or not?
No.
Why?
Well, the funny thing is, when we watched the earlier clip with the Polish journalists, at the time I was supremely confident because I was Palestinian, and,
and they
and I had everyone was going to help me, and I knew a lot of people there that, I was going to be different to those Polish journalists. But time, went on. I was there for months. But no, I was starting to take it personally actually, and I was starting to feel a bit paranoid.
That comes through,
about what was happening, really. I felt like perhaps I was being played with. And
what do you think helped you? What was your secret weapon? Was it persistence, humour, your Palestinian roots, what?
Tenacity, I was really, obviously dogmatic. I mean, I wasn't going to give up. And I think in the end, they either wanted two things, to get me out of there, or they felt sorry for me.
So let's get rid of her. Let's give her the interview.
Absolutely. I think really when it came to it, it's, and they must have admired my determination.
Sure, well,
nobody else in there.
Well, I mean, maybe the fact that you were there for all those months was a key thing, because they thought she must be really serious about this.
Absolutely, because they did have trouble taking me seriously at first, as you saw in that first clip, because I'm a woman.
Do you think in some ways, given everything that's happened since, that you could describe your film as sort of the last days of Fatah in some ways, because we've seen Hamas and sort of political Islam really emerging within Palestine? I mean, it's as much a comment in the old-style Arab leadership that Arafat represented, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, we saw what happened, after he died. I mean, the people voted in Hamas because they wanted something very different. I think they were tired of the old way of doing things. Certainly Palestinians generally are really democratically minded, And the major criticism was about the fact that the PLO wasn't, and that it was corrupt. But the one thing I think the film shows, which I think was kind of missed by the West, and that is that, you know, Arafat, even though he was criticised, and by his own people quite a lot, he was revered because people understood he was a unifying force. And that became really obvious once he died, when things started to disintegrate immediately, really.
How do you feel about the 40 years of his role as the figurehead of the Palestinian cause?
Well, I think, you know, just given what's happening over there now, I think, you know, it's heartbreaking what's happening now. And I think a lot of people miss him. You know, he single-handedly gave the Palestinians an identity. You know, he put them on the map. And that's quite significant.
It certainly is. Sherine Salama, thank you very much for coming in to talk to us about your fun and amazing film, The Last Days of Yasser Arafat.